Hi, guys. Welcome to Faith, Purpose, and Freedom. I am your host, Kayla Roth. This is the home where no matter what you've done, where you've been, you have a place within this community. Today, I have the pleasure of having Scott Doggett with me from National Academy of Leadership Development. Welcome, Scott. I'm so excited to have you with us and share your knowledge and wisdom with our audience today.
So excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Kayla.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what led you there and just the beautiful testimony you have of what got you there.
Sure. So I have the honor and the blessing of being able to lead an amazing team of faculty at the National Academy of Leadership Development, and we are on a mission to help rehumanize the workplaces all over this nation in a day and age where AI is kind of taking over, or it's that new era that we find ourselves in, and so we want to make sure that we don't lose that humanity when we go into work. And so we are working with organizations and leaders and teaching servant leadership in a new way, a modernized way, and to show organizations how to really get the most results, the healthiest results, sustainable results by just taking care of their people. And I'll tell you, this is an inspiration. It's a project that God is leading me through each and every day. And I'll tell you, I spent 30 years of my career in hospitality, serving guests at hotels and resorts. I was a hotel and a resort general manager for many years and got to run some incredible resorts all over the country. And then fell in love with training and development. And I made a change in 2006. And that's when I started to really dedicate my work to training leaders, developing leaders, and loved that season of my life. At the end of 2023, though, I found myself for the first time as part of a layoff. And it was at that point that I really felt God calling me to a different purpose. And I didn't know what that was, but I gave myself 6 months and said, I'm going to go out and just see what's out there and see what this new season may be for myself. And in that 6 months, I experimented. I tried some things like consulting and teaching at a college here in Orlando, and just didn't feel that spark. And I'll tell you, Kayla, at the end of that 6 month period, literally that 6 months to the day that I was laid off, I prayed that night and I asked God just to show me what He wanted me to do with these skills that He had developed in me for these past 30 years. And the next morning, I woke up, and the very first email in my inbox was a job posting for World Vision, this Christian nonprofit organization for a director of Christian leadership development. And I opened it, and the job description literally was everything that I just spent the last decade of my career doing. So God answered my prayer, and I applied, and I got the job. And I
So,
thought for sure God had brought me there to spend the rest of my career. And what happened next? Listen, 9 months went, and I got laid off again. We had some budget cuts through the Doge cuts, unfortunately. And 9 months into it, I found myself out in the wilderness again. But what I realized was God had brought me there so that I could see servant leadership in an organization like I had never seen it before. And I got to see the results that came from that kind of culture where leaders really treated people based on their worth as a human being, and the respect and the dignity and the kindness and the culture that's created in that style of leadership. And then the results were incredible. Nobody ever wanted to leave that environment. Turnover in single digits. Literally every metric was best in class. And so that was the inspiration for me to leave, write my book, create the workshop, create the academy, get the faculty together. And so that's the mission we're on right now, is to show organizations how this style of leadership really is the best style for driving results.
well, and if we're being honest, though, this type of leadership works in all areas of life, whether
It
it be
does.
in your family, whether it be your personal life with friends, and whether it be in the workplace. I've, Ian, education is huge. And so I believe that whenever we have a leadership that sees people for who God created them to be, and I always think to myself, how would I want someone to look at me? And I look back at my past and I remember being that misjudged, misunderstood individual. And that's huge to me. So I love what you're doing there, teaching the leaders to look at everyone else and not look down on them. Because oftentimes we have leadership that's up here and they look down on the people below. And I think that it's so important and wonderful what you're building here, because if all businesses run like this, can you imagine?
Imagine it, everybody wins. And it's
Yeah.
human nature. I don't think leaders have ill intent. I don't think they go into work trying to make people feel bad. But what we do as humans is every time we see a person, we put a label on them.
Yeah.
And whether we know we're doing it or not, we do that. And that label determines how we treat that person. So if I see you as the problem child, or if I see you as, oh boy, here comes Chatty Cathy, or I see you based on your title or rank, that's how I treat you. And not only that, but that's how I make you feel. So if you're the problem child and you come into my office, I'm going to probably be very short with you or dismissive, and I'm probably not going to give you those extra assignments or look to you to promote you in any way. And again, you start to feel that as an employee, and that impacts how you feel about yourself, and that translates into your work and your motivation for being there, and how much effort you put into your work, and all of that translates into the results that the organization gets from their employees.
Well, yeah. And I mean, it just makes sense that when leadership knows their true identity and they can see others through that true identity, now productivity is going to be higher because employees want to go to work. They want, I mean, everybody wants to serve and feel appreciated, right? I think we all just have that natural gifting. And we want to know that our boss appreciates us. And when we feel appreciated, we're going to work that much harder. And in the end, now we have delegation and everybody wins because the employer and your as leadership, you can delegate tasks and skills because everybody's working at their top of capabilities. And that's huge.
Yeah, and I think part of the leadership, the people centered leadership style that we teach is about getting to know each person on your team on an individual basis. Yes, we want you to see everybody as priceless first and foremost, because again, then you'll treat them based on that label. But then it's about getting to know their strengths, getting to know what they're not good at, getting to know what their goals and their aspirations are. And that's the way to get them to feel seen and valued. And guess what? If you can align your work with people's strengths, that's even a better way to get them motivated, because people love to work on the work that they're good at and
Yeah.
what they're passionate about, and a great way to develop them. And so again, everybody wins in this type of situation. The engagement rate right now around the country, around the world, is at historical low rates, and yet we continue to spend trillions of dollars around the globe on trying to fix this problem, and it's not working because we continue to try to just solve problems on the surface level. And we need to start with how we see people, because engagement doesn't happen in the big moments at work. It happens literally in those little moments throughout the course of the day, in how I talk to you in the hallway, how I talk to you, or in the decision, like I need to leave early for my kid's soccer game. How do you react in that one moment? Do
Right.
you let me go freely, or do you not let me go, or do you let me go but you roll your eyes and give me attitude about it? Those are the moments that really matter most as a leader.
Yeah. Well, and that would be frustrating when you're the employee and you're like, okay, my kid has a, especially let's just think about the single parent. And they're walking in and they want to go to their child's game, and you treat them as if it's a burden. If they've gotten their tasks done for the day and they are a good worker, why would we not honor that? Because family, and I think oftentimes that is a big issue that I notice, especially with leaders. They get so busy and tasked at work that then their family struggles too.
They do.
And they're not giving that time to their family. But because of that, they believe everybody else that works in the workplace should give their entire life and shouldn't have a family outside.
And again, that just negatively impacts their level of motivation to want to give their all when they're at work. And that ultimately should be the goal of any organization, is how do I engage this workforce? Because if they're engaged, they're going to give their all. They're going to give all their whole heart, their whole energy, their creativity, those ideas, that extra effort that is so, so valuable. And also, what are they saying about our organization when they leave work? Are they helping, build the brand and advocate for us? Are they out there recruiting people for us? Or are they out there telling that negative story? So it's so important, these leadership behaviors, and again, the way that we treat our people each and every day.
Well, and something, just because you said that, I worked in healthcare for a large portion of my life. And so I did a lot of home health. And whenever you feel underappreciated, undervalued, and you're nothing but a person there so they can get the money, and you're making, a quarter of what they're getting paid for you to be there. One thing I noticed is employees were angry, they were upset. And so now employees are upset and angry, and they're out there talking to their family and friends about this. So do you think whenever one of their family members, your friends' family members, needs someone to do home health for their parent, that your agency's who they're calling?
Exactly. And those are the stories that, as a leader, would be the most valuable insights, right? Because that's the true sentiment of what our employees are feeling. Those once a year engagement surveys, to me, do nothing, right? It's a snapshot of what people are feeling that one day of the year. And even that, there are people that just Christmas tree those surveys. And so to me, what would be much more valuable would be if they took those. I don't know if they still have them in the airports, in the bathrooms. They used to have those things that would have all the smiley faces on it, and it would ask you, like, how was your experience in the bathroom today? And it was like frowny face, and there was like 5 faces, and you would just hit one of the smiley faces. If I ran a big business, I would want one of those at every time clock, and I'd ask every employee every day to just hit one of the smiley faces to tell me how your day was. That
Perfect.
insight would give me so much more information than these big, fancy, expensive engagement surveys, because though we need to really understand what those stories are that our employees are telling themselves about their experience, because
Yeah.
that will determine how much effort we're getting in return, and how much, what are the opportunities for the results that we're either missing out on or we could be getting if we were able to improve that level of engagement.
Well, and I think oftentimes with those engagement surveys too, people lie.
Yeah.
They don't tell the truth because, they don't want to be targeted. So, or maybe if I make it look good, my boss will treat me better. And that's a terrible way to feel. And then you make it look great and your boss doesn't treat you any better. I think it's really important to, when you're working one on one with a CEO, to really delve deep and learn their personality, and help reframing, help anchoring. And I think it's really important to also ask the people that work with them, and if they are a leader that genuinely wants to make a difference, they've acknowledged, like, there's an issue here, I don't know if it's identity, and they're willing to look internally. When you start discussing and having these questionnaires as a coach for, here's one for your wife or husband. Here's one, a few for people that work with you, and they don't get to see them. That's the best part. And as a
Mm.
coach, you don't ever tell them who said what. It gives you the ability to really sit down and determine where we need to do the work. And that's something I do that is huge, because oftentimes they know there's an issue, but they can't pinpoint it. That's why CEOs and leaders hire us to come in and help.
Right.
And it's so important to get a whole worldview. And
Yeah.
as a leader, Don't take offense. Don't be offended. If and be accountable. You know, as a mom, I could be offended every day when my kid is mad at me. But because if you're mad because I told you you couldn't have ice cream for the seventh time today, you're probably going to get over it. But I'm going to make sure you understand why that's unhealthy for you. And
And
we need to treat all relationships like that.
what I love about, if you really are dedicated to creating these people first cultures, it has to start at the top, and it really has to impact at all levels of leadership throughout the organization. Uh, but to your point, even the CEO, right, and the executive team, they need that level of support and that feedback, and somebody to support them in their journey. But when you create this type of culture, the nice thing is everything that's going on is through the lens, through the perspective of how can we help each other grow? How can we help each other improve? The motive is pure, and it's positive, and it is designed, and my job is to help you, Kayla, grow. My job as your leader is to help you succeed and remove barriers from your life, and part of that is giving you feedback. And I think one of the things that servant leadership as there's some perceptions about servant leadership, in that it's soft, or you avoid hard conversations, or you don't tell people things because you don't want to hurt their feelings. And it's not that at all. It's the direct opposite of that. You need to be giving that feedback. But the beautiful thing is, when you get the feedback, you know it's coming from a good place, because it's coming from that place of, I want you to succeed, and so here's some things I've noticed that can help you get better results. And it's the way you deliver that feedback. That's the biggest differentiator. Is
That's the key point.
it's not just what you said, but it's how you said it, because that level of dignity and respect should always be there. There's never a reason why any message should be delivered with any level of disrespect, ever, in my opinion.
Right. So I'm going to just for play, I'm going to come to you as my leader with an issue I'm having, and I want you to give two examples. One of how you should not respond, and one of how you should respond. I just think it's so important. I don't know why God was just like, do this. So, if I come to you as an employee and I'm really struggling getting this task done, I'm going to need an extra week to be able to get this report over to you.
So what I wouldn't want to do is say, absolutely not, Kayla. You need to get this to me today. That's it, right? So what I wouldn't want to do is just completely shut you down, not ask you any questions, and have zero flexibility. There's probably a lot of other things I shouldn't do. Now,
Right.
on the good side, what I would want to do is say, Kayla, help me understand what's getting in your way of being able to get this done this week. And then I would shut up and just let you share what's going on,
Yeah.
because hopefully I can maybe help you remove some of these barriers, or come up with some solutions where we could get it done quicker, or right, because we're a partnership, right? This isn't, I'm here to serve you. My role is to help you succeed, right? And so that would be my approach.
And as an employee, I would feel like, "Ugh, my boss respects me. He was willing to hear me out. And now he even helped me come up with a solution. Oh my goodness, I can have this done by tomorrow."
Yeah, because often it is. You just have to sometimes sit down and talk and come up with creative strategies. I think, when we have conversations, sometimes we don't have conversations because we are worried that someone's going to either take it wrong, or we're going to hurt their feelings, or it's going to turn into some big blow up or something. But I think people don't become defensive or put up walls because of what the message is. It's always because of why why are they saying this? Is it because I'm getting in trouble? Is it because they're trying to make me look bad? And so if again we create these relationships where I know my boss has my best interests in mind, that they're fighting for me, they're advocating for me, they're here to help me grow and support, I don't even question your motive, right? And I'm much more open to that feedback.
Right. And so, one of the things I like to teach people, and it depends because I work with people that definitely want the faith put into it. So if I'm working with that person, the first thing I'm going to tell them is everything starts at leadership and comes down. Why do you think that when Jesus died on the cross, the veil ripped from heaven down. It starts with leadership down. And that has always been huge to me. And the light that comes, and they always just recognize, because when we as leaders spread that same love and grace to them, they're going to return it. But your employees are going to want to work harder. Your productivity is going to go through the roof because they want to work harder because they see that they're loved and appreciated.
There's so many stats out there, so many research studies on the positive results that come from creating these people first type cultures where you put your employees first. I mean, the dramatic reduction in absenteeism, in turnover, increases in productivity and in profitability and growth. It's incredible. And
Yeah.
yes, if you create a positive, healthy employee experience, everything else follows. And when you don't, you can get compliance, you can still get results, but just know you're leaving a lot on you're leaving a lot on the table that you could have gotten had you created a much healthier culture.
Yeah. So I just want to touch base quick on something we were discussing before we got on the call. And I had asked you, what you would recommend when we all have the outside troubles that happen in our life, whether it be, someone gets ill in the family or, God forbid, someone has a fire in their home. What would be good ways and good programs that a company could build to put that in mind and think of those that might be less fortunate within the company to know that they are valued?
I'm glad you brought that up because I think when we work with executive teams, again, every level of leadership in an organization is really servant leadership maybe looks a little bit different at these different levels, but from an executive level, they own policies and programs and systems. And so from their lens, it's about thinking about that employee experience and what is the impact and what can we do to make that experience as good as it can be. And one of the things that you brought up was we go through tragedy in our lives, right? We all go through that. And not every day, but when we do have that happen in our life, wouldn't it be amazing if my employer could help support me in that moment? And so having an emergency fund that even the employees could contribute to, but certainly the company could put together so that an employee has a house fire or there's a hurricane or whatever the situation is, that there's a slush fund or there's something there that could help support the employees in that moment. And what that does is, yes, it takes care of some practical needs for the employees in that moment, but more so, it sends a message. It tells a story. It says, yes, it's very easy to put up on the wall in the employee break room that we value our people, but these are the types of things that demonstrate it. That will say, we preach what we talk, right? We practice what we preach. Sorry, that's what I was
Right.
trying to say. And so I love that because I know so often we try to say, hey, leave your problems at home and compartmentalize, and we just don't do that as humans. It's not what we do. So we carry a lot with us into the workplace every day. And internal stuff that's going on in our personal life. There's external stuff with politics and wars and things. There's all this stuff with AI going on now, and is my job at risk? And so the last thing we need is to pile onto that with ineffective leadership or leaders that don't care about me or don't
Right.
see me or don't value me. So this is why I'm saying right now people need this more now than ever. Is let's bring that humanity back into the workplace through our leadership behaviors.
Yeah. And I think it's so important because, it's so true. I grew up in a culture where I was taught, like, you leave your work life at work, you leave your home life at home. I also grew up with it just being me and my mom. So, I imagine for her, though, it was still tough because she was working 2 and 3 jobs. I only spent time with my mom when I was going to her second or third job with her. And that's tough. And the guilt she still till today carries Can you imagine the guilt she probably carried into the workplace every day, knowing? And so, but my mother was amazing. That woman was a powerhouse, and she never brought work life home. However, I have worked in places where it was very toxic, and it's really hard not to bring it home sometimes and to stand at that door. And we don't want people to go home to their family because now they've gone home to their families feeling this way. Do you think they're coming back to work the next day feeling, ha? No. They they are dreading it because they know, and now they feel no good to their kids and their husbands, or whatever it might be. And so then it works the same way. If you lose someone and you're grieving, you don't walk to the doorstep at work and be like, "All right, grief is gone."
Right.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't know what to say, but as a leader, it takes 3 minutes of your day to say, "Hey, I'm really sorry. If you need anything, let us know." It's pretty simple.
That's it.
And it shows your employees that you care about them. Now they want to come to work because this is a place they feel value. And as humans, we all want to feel valued.
And that's it. And employees, I've talked to thousands of employees who tell me over and over and over again, that's what they want. They want to be seen. They want to be valued. They want some flexibility. And yet, when you talk to executives and leaders, they spend so much effort and spending so much money on these big huge systems, or throwing big huge parties, and thinking that's going to fix all the problems when they just want to be treated better. And guess what? That doesn't cost anything. That
Not a
literally
dime.
just is a change of heart, a change of perspective, and that's what we're trying to. That's the message we're trying to send. Is you don't need to spend a lot of time or money or resources. You literally just have to change your perspective,
Yeah.
and start to treat people based on their worth. Get to know their story.
Right.
It's hard not to love people and want to root for them and fight for them when once you get to know their story.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. I think that it is so powerful when you sit in a room. I Teenagers, for instance, I do youth ministry, love them. And they all love to be like, "Oh, this person," and gossip, right? But they're gossiping about little tiny pieces. And the problem is, a lot of them have learned it from the adults in their life. So when I sit in a room and I say, "Share what you're comfortable sharing," and I let each of them share their story or where they've been, what they've experienced, it's amazing to watch our youth come together, love and support one another. So as adults, let's be the leaders that lead by example.
I love that, and I truly do believe that leaders have this amazing opportunity to have a positive influence in people's in their employees' lives, and to help to build them up, and to build their confidence, and to help them grow as people. And then that you said it earlier, but they can bring that home with them, right? That positivity can come home with them, and that can help strengthen families, and that can even spill into communities. So again, leaders,
Absolutely.
it's not just about getting results. Yes, results are important, but just know that I think the even greater opportunity and blessing is to be able to help people.
Well, and it works full circle because as it goes from leadership to the employee, into their family, into communities, guess what? It's all being talked about where it started too. And now you're bringing more people that want to work for your company because, wow, who wouldn't want to? Number one. And number two, you're bringing more business into you and for your company.
That's it. It's everybody wins, right? Employees are
Right.
happy.
Full
They're
circle.
operating at their best. They're producing the absolute best results. So everybody wins. Employees win. The leaders win. The organization wins. Stockholders. Everybody wins.
The whole community. And imagine if
Imagine
this happened in every company across the
everyone.
US,
We'd have no
we
problem.
would live beautifully. and
I just
and
imagine
we
that.
would see a transition in the entire world because trust me, every other country would be going, "I want to do what they're doing over there in the US."
Yes.
I think it's huge. Yeah. So, could you just tell our audience if somebody is struggling and they're at that point where they are ready, all in, how do they connect with you, with your company, and what can they do to take the next steps?
Yeah, I would love. We try to keep it as simple as possible. Again, we don't charge a lot of money. We've got a lot of free resources for smaller offices and for leaders that maybe even want to just go through this themselves in a self-paced journey. But everything is on our website at nationalald.com. And you can get all the information. We're even doing a national, just kicking off a national tour and doing some public workshops. We have executive retreats and train the trainer certifications and all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, nationalald.com is where to go for the info.
I absolutely love it. Scott, do you have any last words of encouragement for our audience today?
Yeah, again, I just would encourage everybody to just stop and reflect as you look at people in your life, anywhere, at the airport, the grocery store, right, in your home, at work. Stop and reflect and try to hone in and ask yourself, what label am I putting on this person? How do I see this person? Do I see them as a priceless human being, made in the image of God, or do I see them as something else? Because again, the way that you see someone is the way that you are going to treat them and the way that you're going to make them feel. And so I encourage everyone to just look everyone in the eyes and know that they have a story that you don't know. You may not know their story, but they have a story. They have had a life full of ups and downs and pains and struggles that that if you got to know, I know that you would love them. And so that would be my words of advice, is just let's see everybody as priceless, and just see what impact it has on your own life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in today to Faith, Purpose, and Freedom. I am so happy to serve all of you, and I pray that this brings wisdom and lots of blessings over all of your lives. Thank you again for tuning in, and I wish you all many blessings over your entire life. Bye.